I got a viewer request to know what I did to my quarter panel. You might have seen in my earlier episodes. I'm sorry, they're kind of cringe-worthy, but I actually skipped over a stage in the build where I repaired my rear quarter panel. So you can take a look over here that the quarter panel is mostly fixed, but not fixed entirely. You can see there's still a huge gap right by the tail light, and it also doesn't fit flush with the trunk. And what happened was this whole area was crushed in, even down here, and you see how the bumper doesn't line up with the quarter panel at all. And I dug around and I found some old footage that I can show you of kind of what I did. I really wouldn't recommend it, but I did it in my situation. I didn't have the time or the money to actually get it properly fixed, and it was kind of a difficult area. You can see up there in the top corner, someone had tried to bang it out. I think a previous owner tried to get it back to its original shape as much as possible, but the area is super tight. I probably would have recommended a hammer and dolly and maybe some heat, but it looks like they just took a regular old sledge or woodworking hammer and tried to form it back, but it was pretty awful. Right in this area you can see that there's a buckle, because there was an impact right here, and it buckled right here and down here, so the tail light doesn't always fit and the bumper doesn't fit correctly, and I didn't have a way that I could fix this. What I had to do was I took all the paint that was right here and I took as much of it off as possible, and I just put a ton of body filler. I switched over from that AutoZone Bondo to a body filler from Evercoat. You can buy it on Amazon. It's a little bit cheaper and you can get more of it, and I found out that it doesn't gum up your sandpaper as often. But after I put a quick build-up layer on the corner, I sanded it down with a DA at first, and then I kept on backfilling with more body filler, and then eventually used a block, to get my shape. And I just had to eyeball it pretty much. Same thing down here. I didn't even have my bumper at the time, and this is pretty much all body filler right here, and it still doesn't line up because of that impact. And I also had to body fill this area too, which I had sanded down, and I filled it, and then I used a block like this so I can get that curve in there. I just worked it like this. And then once I had everything to shape, I put you want to put a sealer or a type of primer to block any moisture in the body filler, because it'll change it, it'll swell it. You can cause it to crack and stuff like that. You definitely want to seal it from everything before you paint it. So after you put on that primer or sealer, you can put a high build primer as well to get any fine scratches out or anything. But if you put enough primer and base coat, you might be able to get away with it, and especially if your clear is really heavy. But the thing is that when you have to paint it and you clear, to do a proper clear, you want to do the entire panel. You don't want to feather your clear into original paint. So obviously with this quarter panel, it's a unibody. So I'm not going to paint the whole car just for this, unless I wanted to work, other spots on it, but I didn't need it, and I wasn't going to prep it because I thought it was fine, and I didn't have the area to paint it like that. So what I did was I just left a hard line of clear right here. You can barely see it, but it's there. Yeah, so there's a hard line right there. I didn't want to feather the clear, because the thinner the clear is, the more possibility that it's going to flake up. So I just left it thick right there. I know it's there, it's not a show car, so I just didn't want it to peel up. And then I ended it, of course, on this body line, and then all the way. So I painted this whole quarter right here, just like that. This is the only spot where the clear overlaps the old clear. And that's pretty much it. After you clear it, then you want to You can wet sand and buff if you want. Depends on how you want your orange peel to come out, if you want it to be factory and whatnot. But I just buffed it, and then it came out fine. So this isn't actually a repair that I would recommend, to put so much body filler to shape something. The more body filler you have on it, the weaker it's gonna be. You know, vibrations in the car can make it peel up. You know, you're already going down to the base metal, and the Bondo should adhere to that very strongly, but you know, the more you have it, it's just weak. It's not great. The best practice is to get it back to the original shape, maybe pull this quarter panel out, but if you have the capabilities. But the only option that I had was to do it the way that I had just explained, or I also found out possible to actually cut this whole quarter panel, this section out, and then including right here on the panel seams from a donor car at the junkyard, and then have that new one welded back in. But I didn't have a welder friend, and I also didn't have the car running when I was doing all this, so it was kind of hard for me to get that all together. So this is pretty much a how I, not a how to. Maybe you're in a similar situation, you want to do the same thing. This is just how I came about it. If you're not in a show car, you don't have a lot of money, and you want to get some techniques and practice in, this is definitely one of the ways that you can do it. And it might have looked like a crazy job when I started, but the more I worked on it, the more time I spent on it, you know, I was able to accept the outcome of it. Thanks for watching the video. I hope this helps you out, and I'll see you next time.